Welcome to TradeTheNBI.com. This is John. This report's for the 20th of August, and of course, we're still just bouncing around here up at the highs. Punched through to new ones, but then eased back off of it. We're still what fairly could be considered in an extreme range. I don't call it so much overbought or oversold like some people like to, because it's just an extreme, meaning that we've passed that plus 15 level that's marked right here with our both red at 1894. When you get into the 25 range, then you really topped out at sort of a maximum level that can be sustained without some kind of pullback. Last time we saw it was right over here where we dipped back down, but it was short-lived before we turned right back up to the upside. And of course, this is the power of the Fed, no question about it. NASDAQ, same situation. Of course, there it is, that steel falling, breaks below the steel. It tends to be a little bit of softness in there. Nonetheless, we still held the ABM yellow, and that'll be the key point to be looking for, particularly right there on the NASDAQ. From a Euro standpoint, gave back a little bit. Of course, this is just being maintained. Of course, then they get to this point where the Fed reaches a status where it has to defend the dollar, and this is they're outside the range that they have to keep, so they've got plenty of leeway right here, because we've had it between these blue lines for a couple of years. That's really where they wanted to, and they were very concerned when we got down to that 105 range, because as I talked about, a break of that 104-ish was really scary, because then you'd be a sub $1 euro, and they really couldn't have that. Not that the Eurozone is producing anything, because it's abysmal compared to what the US is doing, even with the COVID situation. But nonetheless, you want to have that trading partner capability, as well as it keeps inflation in check from a commodity standpoint. And you can see how beautifully they're doing that. And as long as oil stays minimized, it's harder for there to be inflationary pressures other than supply restrictions, sort of like what happened with that midterm beef and some of those other things that were thrown into chaos when the lockdowns first started, and it really forced them to cull herds and things like that. So that created a future supply disruption, which we're kind of working through at this particular point. So far, they've really mitigated it quite well. From a gold standpoint, got a little positive extreme that happened the other day, and they filled that back in. It's still poised to do good things. Of course, we're still in a declining magenta in that, and so I look for that yellow to get back above before you're going to see any stabilization and return back up. So nothing super spectacular. It was a modest range as far as volume goes, but still the movement was pretty good. We popped all the way up to the new highs up here. I'll give you that reading. Was right there for the high, 33.95.75, and then we dropped all the way down to 33.60. So again, still excellent intraday from a volume standpoint, and then right now we've made new lows, fought back up from them, and we're just retesting that break of the low. We're right back here, and we'll get some action play in between there, but it's all good stuff overall. Can't complain about what we're seeing. The ranges are still good, even though it doesn't necessarily reflect from a daily standpoint a broad change. Nonetheless, we're getting plenty of intraday range, which I think is very effective for us. So, as always, though, I will keep updating anything that's relevant. It's been kind of a quiet summer and taking time to enjoy a little bit of that, but the market's still there doing its thing, and enough happening that we're getting a broad range of movement. So we'll see. Normally you would have expected either some kind of rally or sell-off based on the Democratic convention that's taking place, but it's kind of seeming like a non-event, so not a whole lot happening with it. As always, though, trade well. We'll talk to you later.